Good evening. Welcome to the London Borough of Hammersmith and Fulham's Cabinet meeting. My name is Stephen Cam. I'm the leader of the borough. Before I start, I would like to remind everybody that this is being live streamed, and by the very process of being here or asking questions or taking part, you're agreeing to be live streamed. Can I move straight away and introduce the Cabinet, please? So starting with my left over here.
Good evening, Councillor Wesley Harcourt, Cabinet Member for Climate Change and Ecology.
Good evening, Councillor Sharon Holder, Cabinet Member for Public Realm.
Good evening, Councillor Rowan Ree, Cabinet Member for Finance and Reform.
Hello, Councillor Francis Ume, Cabinet Member for Housing and Homelessness.
Good evening, Councillor Andrew Jones, Cabinet Member for the Economy.
Good evening, Councillor Rebecca Harvey, Cabinet Member for Social Inclusion and Community Safety.
Good evening, Councillor Zarar Kayoum, Cabinet Member for Enterprise and Skills.
Thank you very much. We are fortunate to have the Chief Executive here, Sharon Lee, and Grant Degg, and we're also joined by Councillor Johnny Alford, the Member of the Opposition. Welcome. Okay, I'll move straight to the report and call for the minutes of the Cabinet meeting held on the 13th of January. Are those noted? Agreed? Thank you very much. And apologies for absence. We have Councillor Francis, Councillor Alex Sanderson, the Deputy Leader, and Councillor Bora Kwan. So please note their absence. And then there are no more apologies for absence. So we will crack on to the declarations of interest. Are there any? In that case, I move straight to item number 4, Upstream London Report, the vision for the next phase of the Council's industrial strategy, and I hand over to the Cabinet Member for the Economy.
Thanks very much. So this report outlines the next phase of Upstream London, which is our industrial strategy in the Council, partnered in particular with Imperial College London. The Council has had a first phase of the industrial strategy in place since 2017 that has been enormously successful in establishing a cluster of life science, technology, engineering, or maths and other businesses and industries around Imperial's existing research development in White City. This document sets out a new further phase of that strategy to bolster and develop and strengthen that local ecosystem, which has contains in some respects some of the largest number of fast-growing spin-out firms in the UK, I think at the moment, I'm correct in saying. This is also coincides with the time when the Greater London Authority are developing their new London Growth Plan. The strategy thus far has led to about £6 billion of inward investment. It's created 13,000 jobs. And importantly, it's about working with many different partner institutions, educational and others in the borough and beyond. One thing I'd particularly draw out is the new Upstream Pathway Bond, which is a groundbreaking initiative giving young people a clearer pathway to take part in this economic growth and give them a pathway into new careers and develop new skills to enable them to thrive in their future working lives. So I thoroughly endorse the report, the paper. It's a report for note, but it clearly sets out where we aim to take upstream over the next few years.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions on that? Councillor Kayam, do you want to add anything?
I think Councillor Jones will cover pretty much everything. So the report all covers 3 main areas, which is P, which is the place. The other P is partnership. We already had MOUs signed with various partners across the globe. With various innovation districts, and we've got many more coming. And the place making is again to make Hammersmith the best place to do businesses. Pathway bonds, as mentioned earlier, is around working with the businesses and corporates bringing them to the schools, working with our young people to make sure that they have all those opportunities that we are working towards for them to have access to that. Thank you.
Thank you. I think given, it's been great because we came into office in 2014 with a very clear plan for growth. And I think it was raised at the last full council meeting that indeed we had inherited a situation where Imperial had bought land and were beginning to build. And I would commend Lord Greenhalgh for bending over backwards to help Imperial to get their planning permission. And indeed, it was very much the character of that former administration to bend over backwards a lot with different property developers, and some we supported, i.e. the Imperial one, some we didn't. And I won't list those, but I think they're well documented. But that was sort of the approach. I think what was very different with the Labour administration arriving in office is we're fortunate enough to have Andrew Jones here, also known as Professor Jones, who is a professor of economic geography, because it did mean that our preparation on the nature of place-based growth, I think, was ahead of most people's in many, many different places, as I will mention in a bit. But Andrew's synopsis that Britain didn't do growth very well, it thought it could all come from the centre. But actually, if you look around the world, from Silicon Valley and the tech industry to Kendall Square and the life science industries to the Stuttgart car industry in Germany, you could see that place-based leadership could produce exceptional growth. And that's how it was done in many other leading economies around the world. And he thought Britain missed out in not doing that. Those conversations were very much from the 2009 onwards. So we arrived in office with a plan to do place-based growth in long cycle industries, all of them the jobs of the future. We were very lucky to have Alice Gass, the president of Imperial College London, agree to do such an industrial strategy. No other university in the UK had really got together with a municipality before and said, let's grow the economy together. And we're very lucky to have Greg Jackson, who was setting up his company Octopus Energy at the time, to actually be our business commissioner for free and write quite a lot of our business strategy for free with his co-commissioner, Sophie Devonshire. So we've been very fortunate in the wise advice and counsel we've had from some very leading people, and that Imperial were willing, under Alice Gast's leadership, to sign a growth agreement with a council. It should not be sniffed at that we launched that formal policy in 2017 before anyone was talking growth really at any level of government. And now it's good that many other people are talking about growth, and we've got a Labour government who's making that happen. But prior to then, nobody was. Since we launched in 2017, I think, the three standout figures, we set out to be the best place for business in the European Union. To have more spin-out startups from Imperial than any other university in the UK or anywhere else in the UK, everyone should be particularly pleased about that. This is an administration that's extremely pro-business and pro-good business and pro-good growth. And good growth is about making sure Britain dominates the future technologies and provides those jobs to our citizens in Hammersmith and Fulham. The second figure, over 13,200 jobs being created is staggering. There's other places in the last 15 years where there's a very strong sense that they've gone backwards. Many of it not for any fault of their own, but in Hammersmith and Fulham, it has gone several steps forwards. And it's easy to say those words, but the number 13,200 extra jobs is a very strong underline of that point and a very clear proof point. And then the third point is to have £6 billion worth of growth investment, which is more than all the rest of West London combined, is significant. If you look on a map at Hammersmith and Fulham, it's quite small compared to other West London boroughs. So to have more than that, and they're all substantial economies in their own right, again, is a tribute to the very clever and thinking that Andrew Jones first set us on the path to doing. I do think there's lessons here for people around the world, which is why we've been approached by so many people from around the world saying, could they work with us because they've admired our very fast level of economic growth. So whether it's Buenos Aires or Melbourne or Milan or Jeju or in Poland or indeed in Norway with Lillestrøm and Oslo, we are going to increase the number of partners in order that we can learn from them and they can learn from us and learn our successes and our failures can be equally shared. But one of the things I've learned from them when I've looked at how other places have placed growth, because they've got some amazing things going on in Milan with the Mind Innovation District. But what is very striking is you can see a formula. So elsewhere in the world, innovation districts are either set up by one of three things. So it's sometimes the business community coming together and talking to the politicians, but leading on the setting up of an innovation district. And often they're the ones talking with the politicians about enticing a university in. That's one model. The next model is a university will look at the level of innovation they're doing and say, we've got some land here, wouldn't it be good if we had some spin outs? And then so they set up a sort of science park attachment to the university campus. The next one is a land developer buys a piece of land and says, we're going to build a business hub next to the university. And that's the next one. So far, ours is the only one that's been led by the municipality. And it's the only one where the municipality went to the university and said, we would like to do this. Now, as we report in the Upstream London document, there were people in Imperial who also wanted to set up an innovation district. And there were others who didn't. There were others who were very happy in Albertopolis. But we found ourselves allied with people in Imperial who also, at the same time as us, had been thinking there should be an innovation district. And when you put like-minded people together, then action happens very quick. And so what I think's happened, and the reason why we've had so much economic growth, and I know that Imperial will tell people that they've never had a relationship with a governmental agency like they have with us. We work symbiotically, we're determined for them to thrive, and they're determined for us to thrive, and together we're building out the innovation district around White City. For us, as the leaders of Hammersmith and Fulham, we see the innovation district spreading across the borough. And that's why, one of the reasons why we're calling the Civic Campus the Civic Campus. It's one of the reasons why we built the Sands End Arts and Community Centre, so we can do TED Talks and other educational and learning and business talks and offer chances to people. And it's why we're working so closely with other partners, such as the developers at Earls Court and indeed the developers of Olympia. If we accept the basic fact that people are going to have lots of different jobs, someone who is 25 now might have several different careers in their lifetime as they set out on their life. Someone being born today in Queen Charlotte's Hospital will see, hopefully, the dawn of the next century. And that world will be very, very different to anything that we've experienced. But what we know is they will have to be agile as different opportunities come about. So our vision is to make Hammersmith and Fulham the leading campus borough where all our citizens get a first chance to get the jobs, to get the training, to get the pathways into the careers that shape the new economy as it emerges. And I think this is quite a unique model as a consequence. And it's fantastic to have Andrew and Greg Jackson and Sophie Devonshire as our advisors, and Andrew as the cabinet member. But I think it really does mean we've got this snowball pushed quite a bit down the hill, and we're going to keep rolling it. So the three things we're going to do is, one, our model of entrepreneurial municipal government, we think, is about going out and making investment come here. Two, it's also about then making those opportunities come alive for our people. And that's why we set up pathway bonds, where every single citizen will find some pathway into those opportunities. And I'm very proud that L'Oreal were one of the first people to sign up to the pathway bond. They're an amazing company to have in Hammersmith and Fulham. But there are lots of other companies where we're saying, if it's everyone's responsibility, if that African proverb and Hillary Clinton's book, it takes a village to raise a child, what does that look like in a municipal area like Hammersmith and Fulham, the west of London? And we think it means a bond, a sacred bond offered to every single citizen. We'll find a pathway in for you, working with stakeholders in the form of businesses to meet our common aims of growing the best talent in the world and giving people better life opportunities. And finally, next year, we will launch the first international convention on innovation districts, where we'll invite all our partners to Hammersmith and Fulham, and it'll be opportunities for them to win investment, but it will also be opportunities for our citizens to see how the future world is unfolding. And we think that will be a very exciting bounce for the citizens of this borough. And indeed, it positions us perfectly well. I'll just sum up by saying, you know, I was listening to a podcast as I was coming in today from Gloucestershire, where I've been visiting my dad. And it's very clear that, you know, under successive American administrations, they are pulling away from the rest of the world as a technological superpower. And many people will say, well, what should Britain's response be? Because there's a lot of people talking Britain down. I would say Britain punches above its weight in our academic R&D. We are a global superpower in academic innovation, scientific discovery. If we can marshal that and turn it into local businesses, then I think, you know, we are answering the question, if there's a race for technological supremacy, then Britain's position is to get in there and make sure we can be a key player in dominating that race and winning that race. It has all sorts of benefits for our economy and our national security. The fact that that race is coming straight out of Hammersmith and Fulham is something that people across the political spectrum, I think, should look to nurture. And I'm glad it started with the wise counsel and insights of our very own Professor of Economics, our Cabinet Member for the Economy. So I would just say this is one of the most important things we're doing as a borough, which is why I've spoken so significantly on it in this Cabinet meeting, but it can be a game changer and, more importantly, a life changer for everybody who's able to grasp the opportunities we're going to bring and keep bringing. On that note, can we, is this paper agreed? Agreed. Good, thought it would be. Right. Next paper then, H&F private rented sector. Over to you, Councillor Umey.
Thank you, Leader. So this really important report proposes a new private rented sector policy for Hammersmith and Fulham to ensure high housing standards. Over the past 2 decades, the sector has grown to become the largest tenure in our borough, with nearly a third, 30,000 properties, now privately rented. So as we know, the shift has been shaped by decades of national policy stemming from the 1980s, leaving some homes poorly maintained and unaffordable. And while we acknowledge that many landlords that are out there are excellent and doing a wonderful job, and we're thankful for them, there are those who do exploit their tenants. And this council, under this administration, has long worked hard to improve private renting through regulation and enforcement. And in essence, this new policy really builds on that and focuses on 4 key priorities, as you would have seen in the report. Collaboration, engaging with residents and landlords to raise awareness, creating those spaces for residents' voices to be heard, as well as landlord voices, and sharing best practice. Improving quality, ensuring homes meet high standards through licensing and the Decent Home Standard. Enforcement, cracking down on poor practices to protect tenants. And inclusivity, it's essential. Tackling discriminatory practices and improving accessibility within this market. A big thank you to all renters, landlords and agents who participated in this consultation, because that insight has really helped to shape what this policy is today. And obviously a thank you to officers for the work they've done on this and their ongoing efforts within the sector. We recognise that urgent national reforms are needed to improve renters' rights too, and to create a fairer housing market. And so it's really encouraging to see some of this coming through from the national government, reforms like co-op's law and energy efficient standards that will be implemented, given the fact that we're seeing nearly 400,000 households within London alone experiencing fuel poverty. Making homes warmer and more energy efficient is crucial for residents, for their health, their well-being and finances. So we're committed to working with the government to achieve these goals, and I think this policy is a really great place to start. Thank you.
Brilliant. Are there any questions on this paper?
I got it at the council meeting, if you remember, with slightly interesting results.
Yes, I do remember. And I don't remember the interesting results.
Well, it was just like with the mayor was.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah,
meant.
no, but I remember you were supportive of it, so thank you for that support. Okay, is that case, is there any more questions about this? Is it agreed? Agreed. Congratulations, Francis. Councillor May. Okay, next we have the revenue budget and council tax levels for 2025-2026.
Thank you very much, Leader. This is our revenue budget for 2025-26. It is a budget to fund the fight against crime and antisocial behaviour here in Hammersmith and Fulham, investing both in fighting crime but also fighting the causes of crime as well. Anyone who's opened a newspaper over the last few years will know that this is a difficult time for local government finance. But despite that, we've been able to find £12.3 million of new investment in vital council services. 3.4 million of that is going directly towards crime prevention through our law enforcement teams, our innovative gangs unit, and funding measures to prevent violence against women and girls. £2.8 million is going towards adult social care. £2.2 million is going towards children's services. £1.8 million towards our quality weekly waste collection services, and £1.2 million towards homelessness prevention. I'm sure everyone here has heard me go over this 100 times now already, and we'll get a chance to do it all over again on the 26th of February. So I'll save you another long speech about it. But I did just want to thank all of the officers who've been involved in this, Sukhvinder and the finance team for making sure that the numbers all add up. All of the officers across the various departments and all of the cabinet members here who've gone through their budgets line by line to make sure that this council continues to offer a ruthlessly financially efficient approach to managing our finances. Thank you very much.
Thanks for that, Councillor Ree. Any questions to the Cabinet Member for Finance? Okay. I would just commend you, Councillor Ree, for your iron stewardship of our council's finances. I know there's not anyone anywhere in local government, I think in any political party in local government, who does not agree that we have had very, very challenging times since austerity was first introduced in 2010. And in our case, losing in real terms more than half the budget. I don't know any company or small business that could cope with increasing demand on its services with half its revenue disappearing. But, and I do remember when we first won control of the council in 2014, and I introduced the Ruthless Financial Efficiency Programme, which as a value got tested amongst our staff, and the senior execs came back and said, they like financial efficiency, they don't like the word ruthless. And I said, we just need to be honest, explain to people, we are going to be ruthless in pursuit of financial efficiency. It sounds like a tough word, and it is a tough word, but actually, when you consider that by pursuing £133 million of cuts, and never had one protest because of the cuts, because all of those have been modernisation programmes, and that because of those efficiencies, and because we've used new technology, we've negotiated harder with contractors, and we've won significant developer contributions, because of all those different things, to pioneer for the country free breakfast for all school children, free adult social care, and most importantly of all, to introduce our own law enforcement officers at a time when the police were slashed in numbers and funding, has been a major addition to the quality of life in our residents. So we can talk more about this at the full budget meeting, but I am aware people are frightened of crime, and our first priority as any administration is to keep our residents safe. It goes to the heart of what this Labour administration believes, and crime fighting will be the top of our agenda whenever we have to make budget decisions. So thank you for that. Is that item agreed? Okay. Right, next we have the full-year capital programme. Over to you again, Councillor Ree.
Thank you very much. I worry you might all be sick of the sound of my voice by the end of this meeting. Yes, this sets out our 4-year capital programme for the period up to 2029. Continuing on the theme that we were talking about, again, about crime prevention, this also includes £4.5 million of investment in our CCTV network, with the most comprehensive CCTV network in the country, with more cameras per resident than anywhere else. I'd also include significant investment in housing and school maintenance, the public realm, and a number of other areas.
Much. Any questions?
Yeah. I have had a very full briefing with the finance director, so probably okay.
Yes, no, you're entitled to that. We're glad you're getting it. So thank you for letting us know. Okay.
The same questions asked over and over again.
Right. All right. Well, look, thank you very much. Is this item agreed? Thank you. The Treasury Management Strategy statement, I think it's Councillor Ree.
Surprise, surprise. Yes, this sets out our treasury management strategy for the coming year. This looks into how we manage money coming in, going out, making sure that we've always got enough to pay relevant bills as and when we need it. We've got a good record actually in this area. We haven't undertaken any prudential borrowing over the last 4 years. We're now at a stage where interest rates are coming down again, and this sets out a strategy for managing council investment and borrowing.
Any questions on that? Is it agreed? Next, onto the housing revenue account, and that's Francis O'May, supported by Councillor Ree.
Okay, I'll just say a few words on this. So this sets out our HRA budget, but also the 10-year business plan. Over the next 10 years, we're going to be investing £0.85 billion in new housing across this borough, something that is hugely needed. We'll also be investing in our property stock, making sure that it is as efficient, as green and as comfortable as it possibly can be. This investment is only possible because we've managed to get the housing revenue account back onto a sustainable footing. We've eliminated the structural deficit in the HRA, and because we've done that, we're now able to reduce resident service charges, which we're doing as part of this budget.
Thank you. And just to add to that, as part of this process, there was an opportunity to discuss the business plan with residents at both the Sheltered Housing Forum as well as the Housing Forum, and there was positive feedback with how officers and the team had worked to ensure that there is ruthless financial efficiency and effective management of resources. But in addition to that, comments on the rent and service charge, and they wanted to be noted at Cabinet that they do commend this, and they're very grateful for the work that's been done.
Okay, questions?
It's more a comment, and I will be brief because it's my usual mantra. I'm delighted that it's balancing. I'm always delighted when it's balancing. What's slightly worrying me, and I hope I'm going to get some reassurance, is while you've managed to balance it for this year, I'm wondering, because you've had to use, I think I used the word contingency funds. I'd use another word, but you wouldn't like it. For this year, you more or less seem to have used up most of the contingency funds. Will you have enough somewhere if there's a problem next year?
Yes, every year as part of the budget setting, we build in new contingencies so that they're there if and when we need them. Obviously, we hope not to have to use them, but you know, it's prudent to make sure that we've got extra resources just in case we need them, and we've done that as part of this budget.
And I think, you know, everyone's aware of the challenges we've had with the housing department in recent years. In large part, you could put down the fact that if you cut planned maintenance, then you end up in greater reactive repair bills. And the market at the moment, in terms of hiring companies to come in and do high quality work, is challenging for all sorts of reasons, from the war in Ukraine to Brexit. And so as a consequence, it's always better to spend money on planned maintenance. So this is a budget that puts the improvement, the long-term improvement of the quality of our stock in council housing front and centre. And I commend Councillor O'May and Councillor Ree for their clever working to make sure all those factors are in place. But we will always put extra contingencies into the housing budget because it's such a priority for us that our residents can live in high quality housing. And not everyone does at the moment, but we will get there, and we will guarantee that everyone has high quality housing. It's one of the key things that we care about. Okay, is that item agreed? Thank you very much. That leads us on to the school budget. Item number 10, dedicated schools grant. I can talk through that as Councillor Sanderson's not here, but this is this was essentially the report agreed by the Hammersmith and Fulham Schools Forum. It was delayed because of the general election, and it's come forward now because there needs to be a political sign-up from us. There's been an awful lot of work put in by council and by the schools forum, and again what it sees is a solid funding scheme for local schools for the financial year ahead. I'm happy to take any questions. If there's none, can I ask if that item is agreed? Thank you very much. In which case, we then move on to the capital programme monitor and budget variations. Oh, sorry, early years budget, dedicated schools grant. Similarly, that's on page 333. Similarly, this is I think one of the big challenges for us as a society is making sure that children get the right level of budgeting into their early years development. This is a significant addition to that, and it secures many of the extended nursery and development programs that the borough runs. Any questions on that? Okay, is that agreed? Then we have the capital programme monitor and budget variations, item number 12.
Thank
Councillor
you
Ree.
very much. Yes, this is one of our regular monitoring reports for the capital programme. This one looking at the third quarter. Forecast of £226 million of expenditure, again, in the area of in our capital programme, so building things like housing, improving public realm, and all of the maintenance of our existing assets.
Any questions? No? Okay, is that item agreed? Could I ask all of you to note the forward plan of key decisions, please, on 371? In that case, I close the meeting, wishing everyone a soon-to-be happy spring. Some way off, I know, but we can only hope.